Is there any reason to believe we're not going to wake up Wednesday morning with Donald Trump 3-1?
No, I mean, I think he looks good to win Nevada. He's up in those polls. It's hard to poll in Nevada, but he looks good. Maybe Rubio can come in a distant second. There are Latinos there. He was a Mormon at one point. There are a lot of Mormons in Nevada. Maybe that'll do him some good. But yeah, I mean, he's set up to, I think, be 3-1 at this point, and maybe the establishment will try to figure something out, how to blunt the narrative, how to blunt his momentum. What does Kasich do? But I mean, he looks good.
Well, let's come back to the Rubio point, because originally Rubio and Bush were trying to get the Republican governor of Nevada to change the system. They did not want the caucuses. They wanted a primary. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be a caucus, and Trump has momentum right now. But last night, Rubio sneaks into second place, which is good for Rubio. I mean, no question, last night was a better night for Rubio than for Ted Cruz, but he's still second. Right. And I think to win the nomination, you actually have to start winning somewhere. And so I was asking some Rubio people last night, and they said their fundraising was good last night online. They said a bunch of bundlers who were with Bush started to make calls about coming over to Team Rubio, so that looks good for them. But where do they get a win?
Well, and a couple things to watch, a couple dates that are important as you brought up the delegate chart. Last night, Trump got all 50 delegates in South Carolina because it was the first winner-take-all state before March 15th. Look at Texas on March 1st and Florida on March 15th, because those are two opportunities for Donald Trump to really put Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio on their backs. If he can't beat either of them in those two states, in their home places, then we may be looking at a protracted thing. And if John Kasich stays in and thinks he can win some of these more moderate states, you're looking at something that starts to get closer to what could look like a brokered convention.
And so how does Rubio try to get from, now he's the establishment favorite. He still has Governor Kasich to deal with. We'll get to that in a second. But he was trying to, from the beginning, he's made the generational argument against Hillary Clinton, saying, I'm the new fresh face of the Republican Party. In South Carolina, where he had the backing, very important backing in the last week, of the Indian-American Governor Nikki Haley, he had the Tea Party African-American Senator Tim Scott. Marco Rubio was making the case with them up on stage. Look at us. We are the new face, the next generation of the conservative movement. Let's listen.
Well, now the children of the Reagan Revolution are ready to assume the mantle of leadership. Now, those of us who grew up when it was morning in America and Ronald Reagan was in the White House are ready to do for our generation, are ready to do for the next generation what Ronald Reagan did for ours.
It is and has been the defining question of the race for a long time, in the sense that, Rubio's the best athlete on the field, but is he ready for the major leagues? And now that he has this moment, can he get a win?
He recovered from that terrible robotic moment in the debate in New Hampshire where a lot of people might have had a hard time getting back on his feet. He did. And he clearly now has an opportunity to consolidate this anti-Trump, anti-Cruz establishment support with Jeb Bush out finally, and Kasich may or may not be able to hang on. The question for him is, as you say, where does he win? Where does he put it together? And the truth is, nobody has ever won a Republican nomination after losing the first three. And he did lose, even he became second place, losing the first three contests. And it's hard to see how do you overtake him. He wants a one-on-one race. Trump made fun of that last night. He said, oh, you guys think if it's a one-on-one race, all these votes go to the anti-Trump candidate. A lot of them will come to me. He may not be wrong about that. And so they may be looking for a one-on-one race, but it may not help him.
The first test is Nevada. Does he get all the Bush vote? Does Rubio essentially get 80%, 90% or more of the Bush vote? That'll be the first test that they can do this. But you mentioned Governor Kasich. He says he's not going anywhere. Second place in New Hampshire. It's hard to see on the map where he wins. He was in Massachusetts last night. He's looking to the sort of the more moderate states that come down the calendar a little bit. But there's a bit of, I'll call it, hypocrisy in the Republican establishment, because many are whispering, gee, Governor Kasich, why don't you do us a favor and get out, so that all that vote consolidates around Rubio. But at the same time, they're saying, hey, Dr. Carson, we love you. Stay in. Stay in, because they think the Carson vote comes out of Ted Cruz, who the establishment hates. So how can you tell Governor Kasich, who's performed better than Ben Carson, you should go, but he should stay?
But how much of the vote is it, really? I mean, we talk about the Jeb Bush vote going to Marco Rubio. How much of the vote is there, really, to go to Marco Rubio? I think Cruz is still his biggest adversary. As long as Cruz is in that race, the people that don't like Donald Trump are going to go to Ted Cruz right now, and that's who he needs to, I guess,
the
take
outsider.
out. The outsider.
And it's also not clear. I mean, what we've seen from Trump is that he does well across the board. I mean, he does well with some moderate, some establishment folks. It's not clear that it's just a one-to-one transfer from Jeb Bush to Marco Rubio or from Kasich to Marco Rubio. I think for Marco Rubio, he often sounds like he's sort of reading from an RNC document about his candidacy. When he says it's a new American century, this is the next generation of conservatives. If you're a white working class person who works at the Denny's, or you work at Waffle House, or you're in coal country, those kinds of buzzwords don't work. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to your daily life when you're looking for a better economy and you're looking for a better America.
It works better if it sounds like it comes from
Yeah.
the heart, not from a script, in the sense that I remember back in 1992, Bill Clinton and Stan Greenberg had battle-tested this focus group, this compete and win in the economy. But when Clinton said it, it felt like he wrote the words.
Yeah.
I thought they came out of a focus group.
Well, speaking of Bill Clinton, by the way, no one since Bill Clinton has more declared themselves the comeback kid after a second-place finish than Marco Rubio last night in South Carolina. I mean, I think that it's a difficult thing. How does somebody who finished third, fifth, and second, now suddenly think that they can move on? But when you hear about this, colors of Benetton, Republican Party that Marco Rubio is getting at, that's talking to donors. It's talking to the elite in the Republican Party who want to move the party forward after that autopsy in 2012, where they lost Hispanics by such a huge margin. And I've had Democrats tell me that when you see the name Rubio, there are going to be a lot of Hispanics who will consider him just because of the name, and it'll at least make Democrats work harder to have to peel below that layer.